8:21 exactly, news and views right here on Salam Media. And we are going to be joined by Dr. Pranav Singh. He is the chairperson of the South African Internationally Trained Health Professionals Association. Morning, welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, and really pleased to be talking with you this morning because obviously you're here to share some very good news with us, and that is that at least 109 foreign-trained doctors are a step closer to alleviating the critical shortage of doctors in the country. But these poor doctors, these 109, have been sitting in limbo for the past 2 years. So what has happened in the interim for this good news to be breaking here in South Africa?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Lovely to have you on the show.
So just to give everyone and yourself a background on what has occurred in the past few years leading up to this moment, is that the HPCSA had implemented what was infamously known as a new pathway. And that had those requirements had asked the doctors to write a theory component, spend a year as a student, then attempt an OSCE, and on completion, then only could they apply to start an internship program. This process would have taken roughly 2 to 3 years to complete, on top of the 6 years of medical training. What was done was that we appealed to the court for an urgent application as a means to interdict and remove this new pathway, allowing doctors to write the board exams and eventually apply and start their internship and practice in South Africa.
So how close are we to these 109 doctors being absorbed into the healthcare system? How much longer is it going to take before that actually happens?
Actually, as of now, having heard the good news and knowing that the courts have ordered in our favor, over the past few days, these doctors have actually received their invitations to write their board exams. And they will be doing so over this week and again on the 28th of September. And should they be successful, and once they pass, they would be candidates to apply and start their internship program as early as next year.
Wonderful. And I hope that this court application was with costs so that the health department carries those legal costs.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. What confounds me in this whole story, we had 109 doctors in limbo for the past 2 years. The poor people were out of pocket because they couldn't even support themselves. They weren't working. They were unemployed. And I do understand that the Cuban Medical Brigade are now in our country. The government has extended their contracts for a further year at a cost of 83 million rands. And of course, that's the taxpayer who's footing that bill. These were just about, I think, 200 doctors, 200 Cuban doctors. And we also understand and appreciate the fact that they are specialists in their respective or required fields. But it does add insult to injury, doesn't it? You have 109 qualified doctors sitting idle for 2 years because the system refuses to take them in. And then you have 200 imported doctors at a cost of 83 million rands.
No, absolutely. And, there is a bit of controversy surrounding it. And in no way do I want to show any disrespect to the Cuban doctors that are coming through. That's not the intention. However,
did they have to do some sort of interim or some sort of an exam to indicate that they're qualified enough to be in the country? They are foreign trained doctors.
No, they don't. They don't have to follow. They follow their own pathway. We are unfortunately categorized as foreign trained doctors, but we follow a separate pathway. And this is where the controversy sort of comes through. And what I want to highlight in this situation is that we as doctors who have trained abroad, whether it was Mauritius or China, wherever the case may be, we were trained at the expense of our own parents' hard work. It did not, we were not supported by the taxpayer or the government's funding. And we are doctors that have been trained at our own expense and returning, asking to practice in our own country of South Africa. I definitely feel that as a country, we are sitting on a gold mine as a means to mitigate or rather circumvent the shortage of doctors during this pandemic. And I feel by bringing us in onto the front line can definitely provide and extend the healthcare services in the country.
And added to what you're saying is that you, the group of students, these 109 students, but obviously that was the fate of all foreign trained doctors. They all had to go through this procedure. And of course, as you've indicated, parents had to pay for your studies. You studied on overseas student visas, which were only valid until you graduated. And you knew what you were coming back to in South Africa, but because those visas were only valid till your graduation, you weren't even allowed to work in the country where you studied in. So it was really a double whammy for you and all of these students.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And as you've mentioned, it was on a student visa, and it's only for a limited amount of time. And one of the issues that were raised was, and a narrative that was pushed onto us unfairly by the HPCSA, was that we should go back and practice in the country that we studied. But this is simply not possible because not only do our visas expire at a certain point in time, but the countries at which we study would obviously give preference to their own people. And we wanted the same in our country. We wanted South Africa to accept us as South African doctors. And this is completely unfair, a statement from the HPCSA.
And you want to be proudly South African. You want to serve your people, but
Absolutely.
it certainly is good news. Thank you indeed for the hard work you put into the effort in getting South African doctors ready and to be absorbed into the medical services. They are sorely needed. And of course, they also need to earn a living. So good on you and good on your team. Thank you indeed. Congratulations. And we're going to end the interview, but we're going to also listen to a voice note that has been sent in to us. Dr. Pranav Singh, thank you indeed. Keep up the amazing work. And we're so proud to have you guys on board. Let's take a
Thank you
listen to
so
that voice
much.
note. My pleasure. Okay, let's take a listen to that voice note, and then we'll go for an ad break.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As a parent who had to send my child to study abroad at a huge financial and emotional cost, I feel that the South African authorities, namely the South African universities, the Department of Education, the HPCSA, and the South African Medical Council, have failed us by not recognizing our students according to merit. It has been a time of uncertainty and stress for these qualified doctors to return to their country of birth only to be shunted around. SEITPA has done a sterling job up to now of helping to get the HPCSA to allow our doctors to write the exam. We pray that they will not now drag their heels and set exam dates as soon as possible. We also hope that these doctors will be given posts as soon as they pass so that they may start working and providing much needed services to the needy. Thank you, Sethpa, and thank you, Miriam and the Salam Media team, for giving us the exposure.
Durban, KwaZulu-Natal has been the heart